Okay, everybody, plan for today is a direct comparison between the Hoka Mach X3 and the Hoka Rocket X3. Similar sounding names, really similar in design. They look very similar, they feel similar in hand. The upper construction is super reminiscent of each other. The midsole is where a lot of the differences come in. But today we're going to put them both to the test and come up with a conclusion. Obviously, they're also in different categories. One's sort of max stack, cruisy, super trainer type of shoe, plated, overstacked shoe. And then obviously the Rocket is a marathon racing shoe. That's why I'm doing this comparison for y'all today. They're just too similar to pass it up.
You put your left shoe in, you put your left shoe out. You do the hoka, I run around the town. You put your right shoe in, you put your right shoe out. You do the hoka, I run around the town. You put your right shoe in, you put your right shoe out. You do the hoka, I run around the town. You put your left shoe in, you put your right shoe, you do the hoka, I run around the town.
First mile is for sure a rough one with my leg acting up pretty much immediately. It's still not great. It's like every other day it's really hurting, and then every other day it's really fine. I've never had something like this. It's really hard to gauge. Shoes are great. I really like these. I'm in the Mach X3 currently.
You put your left shoe in, you put your left shoes out. You do the hoka and run around the town. You put your right shoe in, you put your right shoe out. You do the hoka and run around the town.
Sort of what I was talking about yesterday is what's happening today, where I just feel like I'm on battery saver, like low power mode, as if I were a laptop. And it's making it really hard to run like this. Like if I run really slow and really relaxed like I'm doing, I don't feel all that much pain, but it feels like I can't even run right. So it's obviously messing up the kinetic chain, and it can't be good for me long term. But then when I do that, the pain goes away and I feel generally better the next day, and I get to still get the miles in. And if I run this slow, I cannot get as many miles in during my lunch. Like, I just don't have enough time to run like 8 miles if I'm going 10-minute pace. It's just, not, it takes too long. As for some comparison between the Mach X3 and the Rocket X3, the upper on this is more substantial. What's up? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Yeah, the upper on this is more substantial, and I could feel a little bit where the shoe might want to lift off my heel, but I think the additional millimeters of thickness in the heel and I haven't actually measured it yet, but I will do that back in the studio. But I would imagine that the heel is a little thicker, and I'm very sure the upper as a whole is thicker because I felt it before leaving for this run. But it like, I'm not getting heel slip on this, and I am in the Rocket X3. But the heel construction's the same. It felt like the same depth to the footbed as well. This is again something we could measure to see how accurate my prediction is. Seem to have locked in to a rhythm with the Hoka Butter Boy. It's just so smooth, even on these uneven trails, even with being in and out of pain. I feel really good in these. And yeah, the pain seems to have subsided a bit. I still don't really understand this. Maybe psychosomatic. Just tricking myself into thinking that I'm hurt. That doesn't seem right. But yeah, I'm just getting slower than normal daily paces and trying to stay alert and stay on top of any potential pain that I might have. But it's going well right now, and I could see myself running all of my miles in the Mach X3. In fact, yesterday I didn't even film this, but my afternoon run was in the Mach X3. You know it's a good shoe, and I don't even try to farm it for content, even when it's brand new. I'm sure all you could hear is wind, so I might just use this as B-roll. But if you could hear me, that's a pretty view. Okay, round 2. Now I'm in the... Oh. Hi. How's it going? Good. Now I'm in the Rocket X3. And it's just immediately kind of feeling alright on my feet. Not expected. Maybe it just feels good to not be in as much pain. Oh yeah, this is for sure a faster shoe though. It's pushing me to go a little bit quicker. Sorry, I'm distracted. Hold on. So far, these are feeling kind of alright. I do think that a lot of the initial concerns that I voiced with the Rocket X3 really come down to softness of foam. It's something I'm already feeling in both feet. It's like plate feel, or maybe just not, maybe not entirely plate feel, but it feels like a harsher ride than I want it to feel like. And that's the issue with some of these squishier foams, is like it could unintentionally be harsh if it's so compressive that it like compresses into a pancake or a crepe pretty immediately. And since we're doing a comparison, the Mach X3, the Piba might be as soft, something I'm gonna have to check when we get back to the studio, but I'd imagine the Piba is of similar softness to this. But the carrier foam, the EVA, is not, and nor is the plastic plate as hard as carbon fiber, potentially. So at least a little more flexible, probably. Can't really tell the difference. I was bending them earlier, and I couldn't really give a notable difference between the two. Interesting tidbit, the Rocket X3 is the shoe that I was wearing when I hurt my leg. Now, do I think it's the Rocket's fault? Maybe implicitly I thought it was, but and I've been like implicitly avoiding it, but I don't actually really think it had anything to do with the Rocket. I think it just accidentally got caught up in running quickly, ran a fast 5K time, and then it was hurting afterwards. And then later in the afternoon I did a bunch of 400s in the streak fly, which will irritate your calves if you already tweaked your calf, and I'm pretty sure that's the majority of the story. But as of right now, today, this feels really nice on foot, nicest that it's ever felt since I bought it on foot, which surprises me. And maybe it's the forgivingness of the Mach X3's upper allowed me to understand how to get where that felt comfortable as far as fit is concerned, and then I was able to replicate it as I was putting these on today. But yeah, in both feet, the ball of my feet feels something like a hot spot or like a pressure point in these, and I haven't felt that yet in the Mach. Way better than I was expecting. Also interesting that it used to be that my afternoon runs were pretty much terrible, and now my afternoon runs are better, which makes me think that my leg is just stiff in the morning and maybe I'm sleeping on it wrong. That can't be it. But yeah, it's a good start to some afternoon mileage. Also of note, the big toe issue that I reported on the Mach X3 is definitely a little worse on the Rocket X3. Now, is that, a bad thing? I mean, it hasn't caused me any like black toenails or any blister even. It's just noticeable. I'm just like medially rubbing near the top of the big toe. What's up? And that's not a pleasant sensation, but I think it's something that I could live with. It is worse in this though, and it's like prevalent on both feet, whereas in the Mach it was primarily on my longer right foot. This is a narrower fit. I mean, it's not narrow by like a lot of running shoe company standards, but it's even for my like narrow feet, I'm still touching, Whatever I did to get a good lockdown this time really worked, but it is for sure come at the expense of some forefoot comfort. I'm like really hitting plate, and this is all of the like old gripes of this shoe that I had are cropping back up one by one. But this is the best that I've ever felt in it, even still. It's just like, yeah, I guess it's a more aggressive, obviously lighter version of the Mach X3, and it's also a totally different purpose. So I guess if you're a runner that ends up absolutely loving the Mach X3, or if you have the Rocket X3 and you absolutely love it, it'll translate well. They have a lot of similarities, but there's some things in this that just like transform it from a hit to a dud almost, and maybe not a full dud. This is certainly making me revisit my opinion of it, but like my forefoot hurts right now, or my 4 feet. Another thing that I've been feeling on my left foot is tightness across the top medial arch. And it's not so much to rise to like a pain, but it's just like a little tight. I don't feel like stopping to fix it because I'm about to be at my buddy's house and it'll be fine until then. Picking him up to go for a couple of miles. The other thing that's been really nice this week and a little bit of last is just like the pace reduction of it all. I run, and I know this about myself, I run too fast for what I should be running. The target paces that I have, I need to do my easy days easier, and if this period of pain that I'm going through is good for anything, it's to inform me to chill out a little bit. I don't really know what I should have been expecting from the Rocket X3, especially in this comparison. They're not comparable shoes other than the way they fit and the way that they're constructed, and like I guess the geometry is similar. There's a lot of superficial similarities to them, but they have such substantially different weights and purposes that it's hard to make a fair comparison. But the Rocket X3 is a marathon racing shoe that's on the uncomfortable side for me. It has a soft foam, but that soft foam contributes to potential bottoming out issues in the forefoot. You're not going to bottom out the heel in this, there's no chance. But it's just not the most comfortable ride. Whereas the Mach X3 takes the same principles of a dual foam setup. In fact, I don't know if it was Hoka's first dual foam plastic plated shoe. I think it must have been. I don't know the rest of their lineup as well as I probably could. But that's a winning formula, and EVA works really well as a carrier foam. And I don't think the PIBA in this works poorly as a carrier foam, in the Rocket I should say. But it's just, this doesn't come together as a racing shoe I'd want to race in, and it doesn't come together as a long run shoe I'd want to run a long run in. And so the question I'm asking myself in this is, what would I do with it? And the answer that I've been giving by my relative lack of use of an expensive purchase is that I wouldn't do anything with it. And that's the reality that I'm confronting of this shoe. Like right now, am I having a miserable time? No, I had to fiddle with the laces a bit, but that's okay. And like, it's not the most comfortable, it's not the fastest. I don't trust it to not give me like numbness in my foot or heel slip on race day, so I really wouldn't use it for any race. It's not a trusted shoe, it's not a fast shoe. I mean, it's fast, but it's not the fastest shoe, and it's not the most comfortable shoe, so it just doesn't really have a place for me in my training. Topic my buddy and I were just talking about while running was work and how much we've been identifying with work and prioritizing work and putting in work, and it's my whole life. That was so far from the truth for me. I hated work, and I guess it turns out I just didn't like work that didn't value me and didn't like work I didn't value. But since I've started making these videos, but even in my day job, my actual job, I have been finding enjoyment in it. It allows me to develop really cool things with cool technologies, and I have a really good team of people across the whole organization and get to work on really cool projects. And I think that's all anybody ever wants in life. And so many people are denied the opportunity to do that for themselves and put in roles that don't fit their character, their neurotype, their personality, whatever you want to call it, and don't succeed in those roles because it's unrealistic for them to. Or they are born into circumstances that force them to work immediately and they can't prioritize education and taking risks to chase a dream because they have to put food on the table. And that's where the American dream has failed people. It's not that you can't have it in America anymore. And even if you are born into unfortunate circumstances, you can still make it. You really can, but you have to work so much harder than everybody else to do it. I'm very fortunate to be not born in those circumstances, but you know, even what I've done with my life is hard work, or at least I feel like it's been. And that's not even half of what some people have to deal with in the everyday. And it feels good to enjoy work now, but it's important to acknowledge that that's a luxury, that's a privilege, to enjoy the job that you have. Not everybody gets to. But if you're feeling stuck in a job or in any place in life, go for a run. You don't know where it's going to take you. I'm going to break it down real quick for y'all. This is a racing shoe. This is not a racing shoe. It is kind of that simple. Obviously, they're built very similarly. This is, when we break it down and look at the upper, you have the Hoka logo in the same style coming across the lateral side. You have an upper made of this mesh material that is really breathable. It's really nice. And you have a toe cap running through here. You have an eyelet chain made out of some sort of like reinforced fabric of some sort, and a tongue. The tongue is actually, I think, where these differ in a more substantial way, but this tongue has a little bit of, I guess, like rubberized plastic to guard against lace bite coming through the top. So let's go to the Mach X3. Has a very similar tongue, although way more padded. I think that's the place that you could feel that it's the most substantially more padded between the two of them. But again, you have the same logo coming through here. It's seemingly like a 2-layer of the same sensation, like tactily it's the same mesh, but it seems like maybe there's a layer on the inside and the outside on the Mach. You can't see that there's a toe cap, but when I'm touching this, the toe cap's in the same position, running through the entire thing. And overall, I mean, the Alfier tab, even the stitching at the back is very similar. And then the dual foam construction, even the shape of the heel, it takes inspiration from each other. This is a bit different, and this is, obviously the rocket was inspired by the Mach X3, or these two shoes are each on their third iteration, so their development cycle is in sync. So probably similar teams are working on them, and they're borrowing heavily from each other. I mean, the dual foam setup, this being in the rocket, this being a firmer PIBA, and this being the shiny stuff being the softer PIBA, and this being on the Mach, the orange being the soft PIBA, and this being a firmer EVA. Carrier foam. Outsole is even pretty similar, although there's way less of it on the rocket. As you saw from the caliper readings, like the varying thicknesses, this is a lot thicker, but it's actually not all that much thicker when you, in the grand scheme of things. It's a beefed up. I mean, it's for a different purpose. So it would be if you're using it for long runs, training, daily mileage, anything besides track workouts and maybe your race. Like, you want thicker padding to wrap your foot more securely. And I think that that's really where these differ, and in the midsole construction, and that's about the differences. I guess this cutout might make a relatively big difference in the way that it rides, although that's never been, in all of the runs that I've taken the Rocket on, that's never been my point of contention with it. My main point of contention has been the fatigue that I feel in the forefoot from this, particularly on the ball of my foot. It's just not very forgiving for, I mean, you could take it for time on feet. Yeah, there are more comfortable options for racing shoes. There are faster options for racing shoes. I said it all out on the road. I think that where the Rocket fails at being within its highly competitive space is where the Mach X3 might succeed, where obviously the quote super trainer space, but really just the maximally stacked dual foam setup, plastic plated training shoe, training companion, whatever you want to call it. It's like, it's a marathon racing shoe, but without all of the bells and whistles, and geared more towards training. So whatever that category is, I think that this is going to be very competitive in that category, and people are going to love it. I mean, it's just really comfortable underfoot. It's like butter smooth. It's the Hoka butter, the butter boy, and this is like, I don't know, the knife, I guess. It's not, I don't feel like it's a rocket. I don't think it's that propulsive. It's like the katana, maybe. It's sharp. It could lead you to a PR, but I do think that in any category that you could race in, if you're picking racing shoes for racing shoes' sake, I think that you can, in the 5K, pick the Streak Fly. In the 10K, you could pick the Streak Fly. Or the Takumi Sen, right? I do think that the Takumi holds up. I don't think it's as good as the Streak Fly, but if you're worried about taking the Streak Fly to 10 kilometers, you could take the Takumi Sen instead, and both would outperform this, because they're going to have, for such a fast race, they're going to have, even though this is stable, they have more stability because they're lower to the ground. So any race like that, I wouldn't want, personally, I don't think I would want a fully stacked racing shoe. However, maybe the Edge Tokyo could make it happen, or even the Edge Paris could be a good 5 to 10K option. I would pick that over this for the 5 to 10K. So I just named 3 shoes that I own that I would take over the Rocket for the 5 to 10K. For the half marathon, I'm either going to go Paris, Edge, or maybe the Streak Fly, because I'm a crazy person. If that blows up my entire leg, and, someday I'm going to do it. I feel like I need to do it to prove a point. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I won't do it because it could just blow up my leg. But yeah, I think that all 3 of those still would do better in the half marathon than the Rocket. And the marathon, I wouldn't take this for a marathon. I just wouldn't. It would fatigue my forefoot too much. So that's enough about the Rocket X3, comparing it to its market that I personally have tried and tested. I haven't tested as much in the nebulously named super trainer category, the plastic plated training category, right? So I've tried I've tried the Prime X Strong. That's not exactly a competitor to this, but it has a similar function where it's good for long runs, maybe, anything from slower to medium fast. You could go pretty fast in the Prime X Strong, but you're not going to want to belt it out because, you might break an entire ankle clean off, and that if you do go too fast, that's how I feel in it. It's just not, you're up so high off the ground that there's stability concerns. And I haven't run in a ton of plastic plated trainers. I have the Tier Valkyrie Speedwork, which is really good. It's a great full PIBA midsole shoe that, yeah, it's beaded PIBA. It's firmer, much firmer than this, and it has faster applications, I would say, than this does. But I think that that's a good option for the speedier side of what this accomplishes. Maybe I need to run in more shoes in this category to give you a better read on it. But as far as how I felt on the run in this shoe and what I would use it for, I would use it for anything. And I mean pretty much anything except for track workouts. Like, I can't think of, like, even, I'm probably going to be taking this for my long run on Sunday. Especially since I've been going a bit slower lately. Maybe ultimately, if you're doing like a progression long run deep into a marathon build, or like just like a tempo baked into your long run, and you have to be hitting marathon pace, and you're a really fast runner. Like, for me, this could work for a marathon pace, because I really still don't know where my marathon pace is, because both of my previous marathon experiences have been not ultimately very successful, even compared to where some of my earlier long runs in the season were. And so yes, seeing as I don't know what my marathon time is, if I had to throw a dart at a board and call it 8 per mile, I'd be happy with that as a marathon pace, if that's what it ends up being. This I would take it, but if it starts getting faster than that, if you're gonna get into the 7:30s or 7s for your pace for the marathon, I think that maybe this would be on the bubble of a little too slow, just due to weight, right? And that's kind of it. I think that it's just a little too heavy, and it's 270 grams, which is really, I mean, it's not the heaviest thing, but it just doesn't feel light on foot. And maybe that's because most of my shoes are lighter than this on foot. And literally, they're just lighter than this. But this doesn't feel light. That's the one sort of point that throttles it from being a full Swiss Army knife of a shoe. Whereas the Rocket doesn't really have an application to me. I don't know when the next time I'm going to run in it is. It's a disappointing shoe. It's not the worst by any means. It's still better than like 10 years ago. Any like standard shoe from 10 years ago that still will blow those out of the water. So we're just really spoiled in this market, is what it boils down to. But this is something special. I really love the Mach X3. I think also something that I never remarked upon. I feel like this is going to get a lot of hate for the colorway because I like it, but I also like this colorway. And putting these next to each other, this is not as good of a colorway as this, and I can see that now. But I still think this looks nice in person. It's not exciting. It's a little plain, but I like it. I like that in a shoe. Just not a shoe like this. Again, this is just like, this has no purpose. This has no purpose at all. I don't know what it's doing here. I don't think it knows what it's doing here. If shoes had consciousness, the Rocket X3 would be a college student that just graduated with a liberal arts degree and didn't really know what it wanted to do with its life. And I could identify with that. I've been there. But I don't want to run in a shoe that's aimless. This shoe has a purpose. It's for relaxed daily miles, for long runs, for recovery mileage, for, slower paced workouts. But I think its sweet spot is in that middle range of paces, but a really wide middle range of paces. Really anything like, down to half marathon pace you could run in this fairly comfortably. Marathon pace, I could see people running a marathon in this. Like, this is this is a viable option if you're going to be spending more time on your feet. This is as viable of an option for the marathon as the Rocket is, and that's saying something. I mean, this is like nearly 70 grams, 60 grams heavier than the Rocket. The Rocket's 209 in my 9.5. This is 270. in my 9.5. I would rather take this for a marathon. Hands down. It's not even close. I appreciate your attention. This has been a fun day of running. I'm feeling a lot better, by the way. My leg is, let's not get carried away. Because tomorrow it's another day. I appreciate your attention. See ya.